There you go.
And we are live.
Welcome to the CrackBerry.com podcast for Thursday, July 12th, 2018.
Hey, everybody. CrackBerry Kevin here, joined today by Adam Zeiss, whose lovely voice you heard.
Hi.
Adam, there's people listening on audio only without video, so waving is not enough. You have to say hi sooner and faster, or else it sounds like dead air. But that's okay, because we also have Blaze today, who won't make that mistake.
Hi.
And then, special guest, very special guest. When we talked to you a month ago from New York, we had a special guest named Mr. Mobile of Mr. Mobile YouTube fame. But today we've got, well, I mean, I want to say you're the heart and soul of Android Central, but if anybody else from the team listens, they're going to be mad. But we've got Jerry, the cowboy Hildenbrand here.
Howdy, yo.
And as you probably have surmised, we're going to talk BlackBerry, a lot of BlackBerry KEY2, maybe some KEY3, maybe some other things too, ghosts and stuff.
Slow down.
Or we talk about this BlackBerry playbook.
That's surprising it's still booted up.
Which I found in my office, and I don't know how long it's been sitting there, but it had 46% battery life, was mounted on a gold chain.
Wait, it still had battery?
Yeah, it still had battery. It was sitting there with battery. I don't know.
That's the most impressive part, I think.
Yeah, and it booted up, and I'm playing the download video. And talk about an OS ahead of its time. Fantastic. But I think this was my mom's, because the apps on here and the videos are clearly not mine. So, and there was no password, which I think I would have stuck one on. So we got a lot to talk about. But first, we have to thank our sponsor for this show. Today's sponsor is Thrifter. It is the world's greatest deal site for saving money every day, which I got to tell you is a really important thing to do, because Thrifter's philosophy is spend where it matters, which means if it doesn't matter, don't overpay. Save every penny you can, so that when things pop up that you really want, like this $300 Louis Vuitton phone ring for my BlackBerry KEY2, that you can buy it guilt-free because you saved so much money shopping on Thrifter every day. And I got to say, one of the biggest days of the shopping year is coming up this Monday, this Tuesday, July 16th, 17th is Amazon Prime Day. So for all of you Amazon consumers, and I know there's a ton of them listening, head to thrifter.com, or for that matter, head to any of our Mobile Nation's websites, because it's going to be like Thrifter Central for a couple days, covering everything you can possibly buy, tech and more, including Adam Zeiss. Don't you own an Instant Pot?
I do. The Instant Pot, I actually don't use. That's a whole nother topic. I actually got in an argument with our commerce director the other day over the Instant Pot, but that's another story for another podcast.
Wow. That was a horrible example to pick.
Sorry.
You're not very good at going with the flow today. But
I like to be honest, Kevin.
Thank you for... Well, no, that's good, but everybody else loves the Instant Pot, so you're probably holding it wrong.
Maybe if I put a $300 phone ring on it, it'll be easier to get.
You're potting wrong.
Now you're back in the game. Now we can start talking.
Oh, boy.
I'm really excited to have Jerry on the show, because I don't even remember, Jerry, when's the last time, or if ever you joined us before?
I do believe I was here once, like 20 years ago. Or
yeah, I want to say, I feel like the audience knows you. We know you from at least one podcast. As I messaged my wife to tell her
our podcast in New York, because we just kept dropping his name all the time. When we podcasted with Mr. Mobile, we were referring to Jerry all the time because we were talking geeky stuff. And we're like, that's Jerry.
That's right.
Jerry did this.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put that on the show. So later this episode, we're going to talk about RAM on Android phones, and if more RAM equals more speed. And does it equal more speed all the time, or just like under heavy load, like you have a million things open, and then if you have more RAM, you can continue to go faster?
Then I am your man.
Okay, and I felt like Michael Fisher was trying to quote you, but I don't know if he was getting it right. I felt like he was only half right. So we got the source on this time.
Me and Michael, it was like 3 a.m. We were trying to figure something out with the KEY1 about the RAM. So he was probably on the right track, if not perfectly correct. But we'll talk about it.
And I got to say, I don't think people trust, Adam or Blaze or CrackBerry Kevin anymore to say, is this a good BlackBerry? Because obviously we're always going to say it's awesome, and it typically is the best BlackBerry to date. But I feel like everybody trusts Jerry, and I feel like you've been crushing the BlackBerry KEY2 coverage more than CrackBerry on Android Central. And you had a pretty good write-up recently of your review on it, or your review. I don't think you called it a review. You called it something else. It was like first impressions so far. But,
yeah, you know how we do the title to try to reflect what we're writing. I think they several, you know, why I'm enjoying the Key 2. This is my first, something like that.
Okay, so we're going to get into that in more detail. I think a little backstory. The last podcast we recorded was after the launch of the Key 2 in New York. We did it from our hotel room there. So it's been a few weeks of hiatus. At some point this episode will get into what's been going on. Very loving Where's Kevin thread in the forums pop up, which always makes me excited. So we'll get into that later. But I think first, I mean, Blaze, did you throw together a bit of an agenda for us? Where do you want to start?
I mean, I did put it together an agenda, and we put together a list of some of this stuff. Basically, it started off with the BlackBerry KEY2 review that I did with a little bit of help from Kevin. I'm stressing the very little help because his was at the very bottom. His input was at the very bottom, so it's actually there. But I mean, we got the KEY2 review up, and if you haven't had the opportunity to go ahead and read through it yet, then definitely take a look at that. But that was pretty much the start of our topics for this week.
Okay, so basically KEY2 Part 2, KEY2 Review Part 2 podcast. I guess that makes sense because last time it was sort of just announcement time, right?
Yeah,
we didn't really.
It was literally the announcement that day. We basically covered everything from the announcement, and since then, everything else has been, rolled out. So
cool. Well, let's talk Key 2 then. I mean, for me, what was interesting is I've had a crazy, coming up on 2 months now of almost living out of a suitcase. I think since the last week of May, I was gone. I was in Toronto for that True North event for a week. I may have been using a Key 2 at that point, but not in it would still be a pre-build one, which I can't really judge yet, And then I was in New York the week after, and then I went to Italy for a family wedding / vacation for a couple of weeks with my wife. And then from there, I went to London for 10 days. And then I've been home this past week, but I'm leaving tomorrow again for the US for a week. But the great thing is, so that's kind of why I haven't been doing any writing or CrackBerry Kevin videos yet, because I just haven't had, been situated to shoot them. But next week, I will start shooting some video content about the Key 2. But the great thing is there's no better way to test a phone than when you're traveling and roaming. And I think that's always one of my complaints about tech reviewers in general is they're often too glued to their office and their regular, their regular mode of working, and they kind of use the phone that way. And there's no better test than when you're out roaming and you have long days and you're using Google Maps way more throughout the day because you don't know where the heck you're going, and you're just using the device more to live. And it's also more mission critical because, again, another challenge with tech reviewers is we're also typically surrounded by these computers with huge screens. As I look at I don't even know how many inches in front of me. So when you get out and you run your life and your business on the phone almost exclusively for a month, now that's when you can do a review. So I'm not trying to shoot down any Key 2 reviews to date. I'm just saying I don't think there's a Key 2 owner on the planet yet who's put the device through the paces as much as me in mission critical living off the damn thing, nonstop. Other than maybe some of the people who probably worked for the company and build it. But in their case, they're switching builds so often that, I've had a commercial one the second I could get it. And I've been just beating the hell out of it. And I have more than one, actually, little thing. This is my pristine one that I'll use for videos next week with my Louis Vuitton phone ring, a topic for later. And look at that custom wallpaper. And then this is the one I've been actually using, which has this wallpaper on it.
Jesus Christ.
A more traditional Spigen style ring, although I do have the new version of their style ring here, which I have not tried yet. And my new home screen layout. I really want to talk later this episode about home screens because this is the best layout I think I've ever had in all my years of smartphone use. Long story short, though, I think Key 2 performance has exceeded Key 1 in every way to me, except I'd say battery life is par, possibly slightly worse, but not by a big margin. I think that's a debatable point because I've read in a lot of other reviews that they're just it's the same or even better. and I want to debate that point. Keyboard definitely better. Definitely. Like once you settle into the adjustment of change, massive difference that makes it hard to go back to key 1 for me now. Camera, I think, is better all around ish. I think I think it's quicker. I like portrait mode, but I've read some debating points on that, and I'm not like a genius on it. And I love the look of the phone, especially the silver one. I just think it's like hot. So it took 6 weeks to come to that, but it's definitely the best BlackBerry I've ever used.
I don't know. I find the battery is pretty much the same. It's just on par. It doesn't exceed it, but I haven't found it any worse than Key1.
So my thing is, at home, it's the same to me. But when I'm home, I'm like this week, I'm on Wi-Fi, right? I'm at the office now. I'm on Wi-Fi. When I'm at home, I'm on Wi-Fi. And every day, the battery life is plenty left at the end of the day. Yeah. But I will say, like when I was traveling I never once got left with a dead battery, not once. But there were more days where towards the end of the night, I was getting like the warning saying, hey, if you keep using the phone at the same rate, you might have to recharge it at this point. And, more days finishing at like 15% battery life or something instead of like 30 when I was out roaming and I think beating the phone. So I don't know, like it's not a scientific test. And I think it should be the same battery life-ish. But, again, being honest, Adam's Ice, I'm like, it's definitely not better. And that's my one ding, I think, is like, I never want to take a step back on battery life or even think about it, right? I never want to think about a dead battery.
Yeah.
I think Key2, I've had more days where it's never died on me. Can't kill it before I go to bed. But I've thought about battery life a couple more times than I did with Key1. So yeah,
that's a fair assessment because, like I said, it's definitely not better than Key1 in my opinion, but it's definitely.
I think the only other thing I would, and I'm going like I don't know why I'm starting on negatives instead of all the good things because it's just like there's tons of good things, right? I think the only other thing I found is it is a lighter device, and it was actually I think Mr. Mobile and his video review he talked about this. I never thought about it because of a specific thing I'll get to in a second. But he's like, because the phone is lighter than the Key1, he finds that when he's typing on the keyboard, it kind of like, there's less weight holding the keyboard, like the phone to his hands. So it like bounces a little more in his fingers as he's typing. So I thought that was interesting feedback. And I've never found that to be an issue because I always put a ring on the back of the phone. So I'm like locked in when I'm typing. But I could see if you were not using one of these things, you're more on it, that, the lightweight is actually, while a positive in almost every respect, it could be a detriment to that feel slightly, which is why with this really heavy metal ring on the back, now this thing is a beast of a phone and it solves every problem. I don't know. And I think the one thing I want to really add on is the telephony, not telephony, the telephony, I think is definitely better, which was one of the big things that I wanted to see. Because, with the Key1 in my normal, like where I live and work and stuff, I never have reception problems. But at all the meetups we did last year, and as we met more and more Key1 owners throughout the year, that was one thing that came up. People would be like, hey, I've got a passport. And, when I'm at my house, which is on the edge of a carrier zone, like, this connects, but my Key1 is not getting the same sort of like connectivity, reception, etc. And I feel like with Key2, it's solid. And, we were driving like South Italy and, my wife had an iPhone. I had my Key2 and we're like Google mapping through little countrysides and, we're on Vodafone roaming, all of us. We had a few people and like of all the phones in the car. And there was, I think 2 iPhones, a Google Pixel, I had Key2, maybe another Samsung. Somebody had like an S8 or something like that. Key2 was like rock solid all the time, right? It was probably the most rock solid of all of them, which I was really happy about that. And to the point where I'm like, every other phone was not working, getting reception. We're like, we're like trying to Google for like restaurants and things. And my phone was still working. So I was like, that was like the pass the test type of thing for me. That made me really happy.
Yeah, I find that too. I find the reception better and the actual call quality itself has been better on Key2.
Absolutely. I was just talking with Daniel Bader about that 20 minutes ago, that the call quality on the KEY2 is the best I've ever heard.
It's really solid. Unfortunately, we live in 2018 when people hate using phones to talk on them anymore. They just want to type. No, but it's really solid. I think, what's my other nitpick? Oh, this one's interesting. So I don't know if I have any key ones. Well, I've got some broken key one. Remember the real world battery durability test? Yeah. So pretend this is that actual key one and that's not disassembled. So one thing I find interesting. So we know they're both like a mono speaker at the bottom. They're not dual speaker, right? There's like holes on two sides, but there's only like one speaker module in there, right?
Right.
When I'm watching movies on the Key 1 or whatever, or like playing a game. So on the KEY2, if you cover up the bottom right side, like under the, where the L key is, like this side of the phone, whatever side we want to call that.
Where the speed key is.
Yeah, where the speed key is. All audio disappears, right? It's like instant. And I guess the speaker is like mounted here, and if it covers it, that's it. You hear nothing anymore. Even though there's holes here. And I guess they didn't leave like a channel open so that you'd still get leakage over on the left side grill, even though it's the one module here. And on the Key 1, again, I think it's the same thing. The speaker's mounted in basically the same spot. But when you cover this side up, you still get a little bit of sound coming out the left side. It's not a completely all or nothing scenario. And it's funny. I watch and hold my phone like this fairly often, and I never really noticed it with the Key 1 as being a thing that bugged me. And on the KEY2, I'm like, crap, like I cover that thing accidentally all the time, and then I'm like, where'd my audio go? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm holding it wrong. Yeah. And that actually is maybe the one thing that I don't know if any review mentioned that I've seen so far.
I think I mentioned it in my review.
Wow, you got it from me then. I didn't actually read your review; it was too long.
I know,
but I trust you.
I knew that you didn't read it, and I knew that it was too long when I wrote it. So, but people appreciate longer reviews who aren't you. So,
but the thing is, those are my like bad things, right? I think overall build quality, design has been awesome. I think I love the look of the phone again, especially silver on the KEY2. I mean, we'll talk later about what I would want to see in a Key 3 and what you guys want to see in a Key 3, because I think there's a pretty clear evolution now that's almost like the palette's been painted of what you'd expect to see. And I don't know. I've been like really happy. So, if you want to buy a KEY2, just buy it. And if you can't find one, actually, you know what's funny? Sorry, and then I'm going to shut up. I'm talking way too much today. I got a phone call yesterday, just randomly, which happens sometimes because my phone number's out there. And it's like a guy in New York who's like, hey, Kevin, where's the pop-up store? I want to go like check out the KEY2. And I'm like, dude, like the KEY2's only, like the pop-up store was only for 2 days back right after the launch event on like, June 8th and 9th or something like that. And he's like, oh, there's no place I can go get in my hands. So I'm like, no, I don't think there's actually an official place in like the US where you can go pick up a KEY2 right now. But I did say, don't worry about it. Just like get it. You're not going to be disappointed. And I feel that's a pretty safe statement for people listening. That's like, if you think you want the phone, it's definitely the one that I wouldn't even think about. And even I'm meeting, like in London, I met some Passport owners who picked up the KEY2 earlier in the week by 2 days. And I've seen it on the comments since. And even like Passport diehards are like, okay, I finally can upgrade. Like it's time to let go and move on.
That's what I thought too. I mean, it doesn't look like a Passport or a Classic. I'm not trying to say it looks like one at all, but this is the phone you can upgrade to finally.
I think that's true. And Jerry said it, not Kevin. So we know it's legit.
So it's true.
We know.
See, I think it looks like a Passport because obviously from aside from the physical keyboard on there, that is obviously different.
What
to a certain extent, like
the design cues are similar.
From the side, it looks like
exactly.
a Passport.
Yeah,
and like even the keyboard itself is almost like a Passport. Like they put a lot of focus on saying that the keyboard is taken from Gold 9900, but realistically, like when you put the Passport keyboard and the KEY2 keyboard side by side, you can see that those two keyboards are almost similar.
Right.
Well, I think
probably much more of a way than the Bold 9900.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a Bold 9900 sitting right here. Oh, no, this is
my takeaway from that though, Blaze, it feels it's responsive like the Bold keyboard was. It's good and clicky.
Exactly.
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think that's
I think it's more the feel, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I mentioned that like that's where the Bold 9900 reference comes from. But
hey, I mentioned
visually
that too, so.
and like in terms of like the feel across your fingers, like when you're holding it, it's like a passport. But when you click on the buttons, it's like a Bold 9900 to me.
So
and I don't think a lot of people caught the differentiation because obviously not everybody has the access to the device yet, right? So it's kind of like you have to put that out there to let people know what they're getting into, and I think it's just good to let people know where those differences are. But more people will realize it once they get it in their hands.
I need to vent. I don't think I did this on the last podcast, so if I did, please forgive me. I'm just getting old and not remembering things. So the one argument I've been getting into about the KEY2 is I'm very clearly now saying this is the best keyboard that's been on a BlackBerry to date, right? However, I have a caveat. Is that the term I want to use? Caveat to that, which is kind of like cheating a little bit, because the argument I get into is with Passport owners who say, Kevin, the Passport's keyboard is clearly the best ever. It's so comfortable to use. To then I pose to them the question, well, why is it comfortable, right? Like, why do you love the Passport keyboard so much? Like put the feel you have into words. And the thing people like about it is when you hold it like this, it's quite, it's wide, right? It's comfortable to hold a wide phone with, especially if you're a 2-thumb typer like this. Now, there's the benefit is comfort. It's absolutely true. This is a more comfortable grip on a device than something that's narrower when your hands have to kind of come together tighter to squeeze to it. And then especially as you type out to the edges, it's a little bit more like you're tight, but now you're going wide. But the trouble with the Passport is when you have a wide keyboard like this, you actually have to move your thumbs further for every keystroke, right? So the distance from the middle of the keyboard to the far side is much further. So in general, even though it's comfortable, you have to move your thumbs a lot further overall. It's a less efficient typing process. So, my argument is always the best keyboard is the one that's as narrow as possible, that is still as accurate as possible. So the KEY1, the KEY1 was a fairly narrow, compact keyboard, but the actual buttons were like a little bit tight, so your accuracy could be off. Whereas the KEY2, they've kept basically the overall width, but the buttons are blown up, so you're more accurate. And then my whole reason for using these frickin' rings, which, I notice a lot of people are using them now. I'm a true influencer because I'm like, this is a utility thing. I don't care about the look. Make fun of me all you want. What it allows me to do when I put my finger in it is widen my grip, so I don't have to grip it tight. I can actually grip it lax. And it feels like a Passport in terms of comfort now, except my thumbs don't have to move as far. So I have all the comfort of a Passport in terms of the width of how I grip the device, but then I can type really quick because I don't need to move as far. And also I think a 4-row keyboard is better than 3 rows, which just makes you go back and forth on the screen more, right? So based on that, I'm like, to me, it's the keyboard champion of the world now. And, the only caveat is if you want the full, true best experience, I would say stick a ring on it. And you can get cheap ones or you can get overpriced ones.
You know what? I'm going to have to pick one of those up.
Well,
because
and
you are. I mean, they are useful.
Well, I have
typing
problems.
in bed, Jerry. When you're typing in bed, the phone just defies gravity and you can type. It doesn't fall on your face. You got a pretty face.
I have those problems with two-hand typing, exactly as you described. When the @ sign is on the P and the Alt key is on the opposite corner, those keys are hard to press.
Yeah.
Not hard. Yeah. You have to focus and do it slowly. So,
but if you have a full touchscreen phone and you want to be a 2-thumb typer, it's the same thing. Like it's almost impossible to use a touchscreen phone in bed like this, because then the fat on your fingers and palms covers the keyboard. You can't even do it. The only way you can do it really well is exactly this, right? It's like stick a ring on it. Now you're lying in bed, outstretched, and whether it's physical keyboard or touchscreen, you can get to the edges, no problem. So, I mean, look, I just want them to build it into the phone so I don't have to stick this thing on the back. But it's a better experience for anybody who truly cares about experience. less about looks.
So let me ask it. Everybody here has a KEY2. So who is actually using the speed key the most?
Oh, when we get to home screens, I have nothing on my home screen because keyboard shortcuts are all I need, and the speed key makes them even better.
Yeah, especially like flipping through apps like Twitter and Instagram and Chrome. Oh my God.
I've got the 10 apps that I use all the time, and the ways I use them. I can hit T and it opens up Signal Messenger to text my wife. And I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Like I would only limit like the amount of shortcut keys that I had because I just simply can't remember 52 shortcut keys.
Right.
Like nobody, realistically, it's excessive, right? But with the new speed key, it allows me to still utilize those shortcut keys,
right,
utilize them in a better way, and still be able to remember them because it's all of the frequent apps that I'm using. Like I can cycle through those apps easily and, assign like I said, T to like Twitter and I to Instagram. It's so much faster to be able to go ahead and do it that way.
The speed key instantly made a difference for me. When I was signing into Slack, my password manager is a little bit older than some of the newer ones. And if you go away, if you press home or you press back, it closes, it disappears.
Yeah.
So I went to Slack and started to sign in. I needed my password, went back to the password manager to get it, and went back to Slack. Slack's closed. The password manager closes when you leave. With the speed key, it doesn't dismiss it. It's still there. Yeah. I could just pick it from the apps list and go right back. That was great.
That was the exact same for me because I have two-factor on and I use Authy for two-factor. So I was able to just to bounce between the two screens using the speed key, and copy and paste directly right in there. And I'm like,
right. If you had pressed the back key or the home key to go back to the home screen, Authy would close.
Yeah, exactly. It would lock it down.
I would love to get more feedback from like users. Like if you're listening to this, drop a comment on CrackBerry on the article where this podcast is embedded, and let us know if you're lucky enough to have a KEY2 so far. It's probably somebody out calling to ask about where they can get their hands on a KEY2. If you're using that, I'm worse with shortcuts and stuff than I used to be, and it simply comes down to building new habits. Like I went off physical keyboard phones for a long time, shortcuts, and now that the functionality is there, like I still need to retrain my brain to use them all the time. And I was bad with key one even. And part of it is I get anxious about what to program on a key. It's like a big deal. Like, who's gonna own the M? Is it gonna be M for mom? Is it gonna be for Marcus, one of the guys I work with? Is it going to be, for Mike? Who's going to do it, And I'm like, I get all worked up about who should own the keys, and then I just don't program them enough.
I think it goes back. I know we said we're going to talk about home screen later, but it goes back to that too, because for years, it's a lot of just, consistency and muscle memory. But for years, I've always had the same home screen where I had, like a certain number of apps, like 6 or 9 apps or whatever it is, but like everything was in the same spot. So I'd have Chrome and Gmail, my Reddit app, my Twitter app. And then as times change, it's like, actually found it hard to when I stopped using Twitter to take my Twitter app off, and it took me 4 days to figure out what to put in its place, because I'm like, that's such an important spot, on the right hand side of my screen, what should I put there? But it's the same thing when it comes down to keys, like you said, it's like, do I put mom on M? Do I put Marcus on M? How does that work? But it's the same as laying out your home screen. It's like trying to figure out which shortcut keys to do. It's kind of a pain.
Completely agree.
Ingrained in it.
I'm really excited about my new home screen layout though that I've come up with, because people make fun of me for being too cluttered. Like I have all the folders
I feel like you have too many icons because I only have 5.
Yeah. No, but now I have the optimal balance of, with just my right thumb, I can swipe and reach all of these without having to go to the upper left corner, and it gives me brandability on it. So I still have I have to do custom wallpapers, of course. But I have it very legible behind the icon, so it's more solid color, going into some patterns. And every time I post one on Instagram now, people are like, "Can you DM me this wallpaper?" It's like the new thing. I think they should ship the next phone with a layout like this.
You could say, if you want to get super hardcore, if you were Blazer Jerry, you would get a widget app, and put a Zuper or something like that, and you would, in that little triangular spot in the corner, that's where your clock and calendar would be on.
But I need an angled one because I have the clock there.
Yeah. But you could design that though in the corner, if you get a widget app. If I know you wouldn't personally, but somebody could do it for you, where you could have a triangular angle.
Yes.
calendar clock or something?
Please do, and I'll run it. We'll run it all down. I do want to come back to the speed key though. So coming back to one more, well, I don't know if this is a hardware. I'm guessing it's a software thing, but let's say feature request. Mr. Mobile had this, and I've had a few other people ask about it. Is, for using the speed key one-handed, right now you actually can't, in a sense. Like you have to hold it and then press your shortcut. But in reality, it doesn't quite make sense, right? Because once you hit it, you should just be able to then tap whatever other button that you want to do and jump to it. And that was a little bit of a...
Yes, that was my big thing. Yeah. I do a lot of one-handed, and I don't, it's like literally there. Like it's in the hardware that you're holding that key. So they should just make it a toggle that you can press it and then press your other key. Because it kind of... Yeah,
it's a slightly like questionable oversight, right? Oh, like I almost think this is why they need to like have, all of the four of us on the team. Because I feel like we would have been like, speed key, this is amazing, but
it could be speedier.
I feel like they could software that though, right, Jerry? Do you think, is that something they could fix with a software update?
Oh, definitely. I actually, my first thought was, well, they've got something else planned for long pressing this. And that's why you have to hold it. It's easily programmed whether you can just tap it or hold it or double tap it or whatever. That's all software.
No, I think that's a no-brainer then, right? Like that just makes complete logical sense.
Yeah.
That's the next step or evolution of the speed key is to toss that in.
Yeah, because I thought mine was broken because I wasn't holding it, and then I had to look and see what's wrong.
Funny.
That's like you said though. It's a pretty big oversight, because that's like the epitome of speed, with being able to do it with one hand.
Well, and hold it down. The Alt key, if you want to press a number, you just tap it. You don't have to hold it down. So I assumed it would be the same.
That makes me wonder if one of the questions that I answered in the forums where the guy thought that his speed key wasn't working, if that was actually the problem.
Oh, well, because the thing is on the home screen. So that was the one thing I ran into when I've been using the speed key a bit, was I actually thought it was working, because even though I was on the home screen, I hit the speed key and use the shortcut that I would normally use when I'm already in an app to use it. Yeah. And in that case, it works that way because you don't actually need the speed key. So I'm like, well, I tapped it and then tapped the other one.
Yeah, because you still have the other 52 shortcuts that were already there.
So we basically just need to write a speed key explainer, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
we should write a speed key explainer. Let's put that on the to-do list. Which reminds me, what's the other little nitpick that... Oh, so one of the cool things is you can reassign the $ key to do things other than the $. So if you wanted to, for example, be copy and paste, I think that's what I did with it. So it becomes
for
like
your control key.
For my control key, I have it set. Or you can also set it to like bring down the notification shade, right? The notification tray. But then you lose it as a $. But I think that's cool functionality that shouldn't just be like tied to the $ key, because I kind of want the $ key to do things. So I don't know.
So,
more ways to pull down the notification tree.
Yeah, just for the people that are actually listening, you can change it to the currency. You can change it to the currency key, the control key. You can make it bring down your notification shade anywhere within the OS. You can also have it switch the keyboard language, or you can have it be the shift key. So that way you get 2 shift keys on your device once again.
I do love the 3 swipe down to pull out the privacy shade.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been finding myself using it that much, but I just think the whole story of like, this is the James Bond phone, it's that kind of functionality works.
I had more stuff to send people that I could use the redactor app more often. Like I want to just send Kevin like PDFs that say things and just you have to like get stuff out of it. Like that's a great app, but I have no use for it whatsoever.
How about the private browser, Jerry? I'm looking at you.
Oh, I'm all into that because I didn't even have to install it. It was already there. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
About that, though, I don't think some of the European builds, the ones that are available in the UK, I don't think they have that as of yet.
Double check because I don't have it present on my phone. But if I go into the settings, I could set the private browser as the default and hit a link and it comes up. But there's no icon for Firefox Focus on my phone anywhere.
Yeah. just in reference to that, though, if it's not present, you can do what Jerry said, or you can wait. There's a software update that is.
Okay.
Coming. They're gonna make it available. It was one of the things that was like listed in the reviewer notes that it has been included from Europe for now, but it's coming in a software update.
See, I did not know that. I was just so happy that it's already installed and it's a system app that I just was happy. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's come back on the, talking KEY2 review still before we talk some other things. On the RAM discussion. So obviously I found the KEY2's performance to be solid. And I think most other review videos and, articles I've read have confirmed KEY1 was pretty solid, but it could get slow. It could get more random jitters on occasion. I found the KEY2 for my personal use. Obviously, I have nothing installed on the phone that makes it stutter, but just in general, no slowdowns. It's been solid, and I've loaded up with 140 apps I have installed, something like that, and I use a lot of stuff, and I've been really happy. So, is that the processor or the additional RAM that's making the difference? And we have 6 gigs of RAM on the KEY2. If you were to put those same 6 gigs on a KEY1 with the same processor in the KEY1, would the KEY1 be equally fast? Or is it a mix of processor and RAM that's making the difference? Or is RAM magic in Android phones?
Android itself doesn't need a lot of RAM, but Android itself sucks. You don't want to use that. You want to use a phone that has Android plus the things a company like BlackBerry Mobile have added on top of it. BlackBerry's hub and the deep hooks it has into the operating system, it reads and writes a lot of very small individual records from different databases. And if you read a 1K, if you need 1K of information, you need to take 4K of RAM because it doesn't get any smaller. Mm-hmm. And the RAM was hogging up, or the BlackBerry hub system, not the app itself, but the deep hooks in the operating system were eating up the RAM. They added this RAM up. We were playing around. I took my Mobile Nation's contacts database and downloaded it as a file and then duplicated it 3 or 4 times. So I had 2,500 contacts and fired up the hub, and it worked just fine. And that would have killed the KEY1.
Interesting. So it makes a difference.
Yes. And the processor, of course, is going to make a difference. It's especially on the network side. I think the biggest improvements in the processor were for LTE and connectivity. But I think the biggest performance difference we see is the RAM, because if you go back to the KEY1, when it's not getting funky like it does for a few minutes, it runs very fast and very smooth most of the time. So that's my guess.
So then what I'm hearing is Mr. Mobile was wrong, because I thought on the last podcast he was like, no, the RAM doesn't make a difference.
Oh, well, no, he's I'm sorry, Michael.
He might have said, though, only when you have a lot of stuff open, though. He may have been half. Yeah, I don't remember. But I'm glad we got it straightened out.
Apps don't close in Android like they did in old BBOS. I'm not sure about the BlackBerry 10.
RAM on BB10. Sorry, I was going to say, RAM on BB10 was always interesting because I felt like we were in a position where we had to defend there not being a lot of RAM on the phones, because everybody was looking at Android flagships and being like, oh, there's so much RAM. And then the BB10 devices had less. But then we were like, well, you just don't need it, because they wrote this thing to be optimized for every hook they're trying to access at any time. So it wasn't
Android will let
apples to apples.
If you've got 6 gigs of RAM on your phone in Android, some of that's taken back. It's like your computer. It reserves some of it. So you've really only got 4.5 that you can use, 5.5 maybe. Android wants that to be full, because we tend to use the same apps over and over. And if those apps are already in memory, they're instant. They just come right back on the screen. But if you need to open another app, there's a set of rules that the system tells the RAM which apps to flush out or which processes. And they're some things are open, but only open so they can connect to the network every once in a while, and they're mostly sleeping. Those go first. And and when you have enough room for the new one, it loads the new one in there and then it stops. So it's good in some ways. It can be really fast if you're using the same 5 or 6 apps. But we saw with the Key 1, sometimes it can get funky. And BlackBerry Mobile and TCL, I think they did the right move. Just throw more RAM at it, and we can do anything we want. And I think it worked.
So one question here, because one of the, again, I never get too worked up on the cost of phones because I'm just, to me, it's like you live with these things day in and day out. It's like I'm not going to nitpick over $20 or $50, even $100. If it's the phone I want, I'm going to buy it, right?
Right.
I know that's not the case for everyone, obviously, but when it comes to the Key 2s, I think it's $100 price increase compared to Key 1. Is RAM an expensive component in smartphones these days, or is it like what drives up the cost? Like if you look, knowing the Key 1 and then looking at the Key 2, from a cost standpoint, what would you say are the biggest things that would make a Key 2 more expensive? Is it the dual camera? Is it the RAM? Is it the processor? Everything? Metal frame?
The metal frame has a little bit to do with it, but I think all those parts you listed mean you have to create an all-new circuit board. You have to build the metal body with the channel for that new circuit board. That's a lot of R&D time. The components themselves may only be 50 cents a piece, but you have to pay an engineer for a year to find a design that'll work. You can't just cram this stuff in a phone, because then you have an iPhone 4 scenario where if your thumb's in the wrong spot, it doesn't work.
Right.
So there's a lot of R&D involved here.
I always just thought they were like magic, and it's just like, hey, we have an idea for a phone, let's mock it up, and then you go from that to selling it.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
We also, if you look at the price of every other phone has went up in price because the components themselves have risen in price. And especially here in America, with the current climate between America and China, expect your next phone to be $100 more again.
Right. Yeah. Everything's going to get tacked. Interesting. You think the world should get simpler, yet it seems like it constantly gets more complicated. We love making our own problems.
Yep. So fly to China and buy your phone and you'll save a couple $100.
Interesting.
But if you bring it back, it might not work.
Cool. So Jerry, your Jerry review, Key 2, if you gave it a score out of 10, where are you sitting on it? What are you not happy with the Key 2?
I don't like the lightweight. And to add on to that, it's top heavy. All the weight that's there is at the top. I am a one-handed typer 99% of the time. With my old Curve, I could type in my pocket.
You need to get one of these rings. Just go buy one, and I'll charge. Send me the bill. Don't do the Louis Vuitton one.
Okay.
Don't do that one. Do the Spigen one.
Okay. But I have to hold it with the ball under my thumb so I can type, because if I don't, it'll flip forward.
Here's the thing: I can't even use a phone without the ring anymore. Any phone, I can't go.
It.
So I'm like, I can't even comment on this stuff because I just think people who don't use them are crazy and they're missing out on the best smartphone experience.
I used to hate the things. I mean, I just thought they were a crazy idea. Who thought of this? Somebody's lost their mind. Now I see I'm the one who was wrong. So
take the 2-day challenge. I've done it with numerous people. Just use it for 2 days. Commit to the ring. Yep. And I don't know if you'll use a phone without one after.
Well, now when the Key 2 got here, my wife dibs on the Key 1. She snatched it out of my hand. You won't need it anymore. I miss it sometimes because the heaviness made it easier to type.
Speaking of wives, I don't want to forget. So Yamahammer, everybody who's on the CrackBerry forums will know, like Yamahammer, who lives in Winnipeg. His keyboard busted on his Key 1, but I gave him a couple of old Key 1s they had, so first parts phone, so he's back up and running. But he said to give him a shout out on the podcast because his wife listens too with him, and she's like, it's kind of like watching porn, which is just an awesome thing to say. So
sorry, she equated the podcast to porn.
Have a good night. You're awesome. Thank you for the Kubasa I got in exchange. I traded food for old BlackBerry parts. I feel like we both won.
True Kevin fashion.
It was fantastic.
I get the double letter typing that people are complaining about, but
what?
I've got that on every BlackBerry I've ever used.
I think the last time I had that was on my 9700.
I assumed it was because some words I type so fast.
Yeah.
But my dictionary is already fixed.
Maybe it's your fat thumbs.
It could be. I mean, I have big hands. I can palm a
so I've
basketball.
always felt the double, like, I don't think I've ever experienced the double typing thing
Yes,
in
sir.
my BlackBerry life.
Yes.
But that I know everybody that's talking about it. I agree with them. It's real. But
What?
for
What
me,
key? Is it a specific key or is it any
You
key?
know what? I thought about that. It's the T and the O are the ones I get the most. I don't know if that means anything, but that was me with a little notepad and an actual physical pencil writing down each time it double. And I just about lost my mind doing it, and I came to no conclusion. But the T and the O were a little bit more common than anything else.
Okay, if you're listening to this podcast and you have a KEY2 and you're getting any double letter typing, tell us what letters it's happening on.
Yes.
Because I just like, I don't know. I don't believe it till I experience it. And I'm like, maybe it's.
My first thought was maybe some words I type so often, and once I got used to the keyboard, maybe I'm typing too fast. I blamed myself at first, but then I noticed that it's happening not very often, but often enough to notice. But I think everybody that's having it, deal with it for a week. Your automatic spell checker will fix that for you.
That's
so
interesting.
I'm good to go.
I think it's been happening, like you said, Jerry. It happens. It used to happen when I was using a BlackBerry Curve 8300. That used to happen as well.
Yes.
And I chalked that up to basically just, me being able to go ahead and type faster than what the OS could actually comprehend. And then I didn't have it for a few years. Maybe I did and just didn't realize it because I had already determined what it was in my brain, right? But then it started popping up when BlackBerry 10 was out, especially on the Q10 devices and the Classic. And basically, BlackBerry waited a long period of time to be able to actually go ahead and address the issue. And obviously, some people got frustrated with that. And it came out that there was a little bit of a software bug that was causing it on those specific devices. So that rectified itself after they went ahead and they pushed out the update. Then the Key 1 came, whatever. There wasn't nobody had any real issues with the double typing, at least not in the same capacity as what we're seeing on Key 2. So I'm kind of like stuck in my mind, like, is it actually a real problem that people are experiencing with the OS or possibly the software? Or is it a combination of both? Like, people are typing faster than the OS can actually comprehend, and nobody can tell the difference between whether or not it's the OS or if it's just something, they're going a little bit faster than what they should be.
My prediction is nobody who puts a ring on the back of the phone and types will experience double typing.
Hey, that's an interesting idea. Oh my, I'm ordering it as soon as we're done.
Because so here's one of my theories. So this comes back to the comfort of the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what makes typing with the ring on the phone, and I'm sorry, I don't make any money off of telling you guys on a podcast to buy these rings. I just believe in it so much. When you hold the phone like this, your thumbs are straight up and down, right? And then you're kind of typing like this. And I think there's more potential to kind of like hit buttons, maybe like in a middle point where you could make that happen. When you widen your hands out, your thumbs are now at an angle and your accuracy to the middle of the key is super high. It's more comfortable, but I think your accuracy improves as well. And I never experienced double typing ever. And I think, I'm just saying, put the ring on it. It's not. If you have a ring on your phone and you get double typing, let me know. But I don't think anybody's going to have that issue.
I'm going to give it a 2-week test because I've been using this for 2 weeks and I noticed the double typing. Okay. I'm going to put the ring on, and if I don't notice it anymore, it is a human thing, and it's because we hold it different, and you need a ring.
I want to see. Idea. This is the best test. You have to be on the next podcast.
Okay.
And order it right now, or wait till Prime Day, and then see if Thrifter has any. Thrifter may, we may have some deals to tell. So check it out and then buy one.
I'll have to buy two
because our sponsor today.
I'll have to buy 2 because when my wife sees it, she's going to snatch that right out of my hands.
Yeah, honestly, buy 4. Here's the thing: I don't claim that these things last forever because I do go through them. Like they last a few months, and then it's a tax it's a ring tax basically. But
if it,
the bushels.
But my space bar is solid. I know people have said the space bar is wobbly. Mine, it has a little bit of movement because it needs to read a round thumbprint, but it's not wobbly and it doesn't move if I shake the phone. I don't have any problems. The fit and finish on the thing is beautiful. I don't think that anybody at TCL or BlackBerry Mobile handpicked phones to send to reviewers. I know some people have said that, but I don't think that happens. I just think this is a really good phone. They took their time, addressed the issues we had with the first one. And yes, there's going to be small problems, but there's small problems with every single phone.
Yeah, I think it's been a really, when I first saw sort of the leaked images and stuff at KEY2, I was like cautiously optimistic, I think, right? I was like, okay, like it looks good. But the thing is, I like the KEY1 and I pick up the KEY1. I think it's between the extra weight, it looks good. But also you think about the KEY1, some of the little issues it had, like the battery door popping off really easily on the back because of the pins they used, just more moving, like more parts on the way the phone was assembled. And I think here, as much as it's a nicer looking design, like it's cleaner and just looks, especially in silver again, it just looks rich.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a more reliable model. Like they kind of reduce the number of things that can go wrong. It feels solid. Of course, I'm the same. I wish it was heavy. Like I don't want a light phone. Give me a brick, right? And make the battery, give me benefits to the weight. Like just make that battery bigger and bigger.
I don't know. It's gorgeous.
Cool.
The only thing I think that could make it better is if Porsche Design made one and you bought it for me.
Wow, I could just put a Louis Vuitton phone ring on the back and you're there, right?
Can you imagine a Porsche designed phone with a Louis Vuitton ring on the back?
Oh my!
Kevin wearing his.
Oh my god, goosebumps! I got goosebumps.
Was it a Supreme holster or something?
Supreme holster, yeah.
With the red stitch.
I like to make things with my hands, and I've played with a lathe and tried to make things out of metal. I appreciate that you can create something like this. The people who designed it, as well as the people in the assembly line that actually created it, they did a wonderful job.
It's solid.
Yeah, it looks great.
I think it's actually like a year right now that I went, 2 weeks shy of a year when I went to China and I went for the Beijing launch event for KEY1. But I did get to do a trip. I can't remember. At the time, I wasn't, I think, supposed to talk about it. But a year later, who's going to get mad? But I did get to do a tour of the manufacturing plant and everything. And I saw where like KEY1s were being born and assembled and everything. And
it's amazing.
It's a high tech. Yeah, it's a high tech process. There's so many checks and balances from like, the moment. Basically, I think it starts with the circuit board, and like the moment the first thing kind of gets done, like that is mapped out, like that, basically like the DNA or the serial number of that phone is known, and everything that happens, it's tracked. And like if there's ever a problem that they need to address, like they can go back and know the state of everything. And what's interesting though is obviously the keyboards, right? The one difference between I think touchscreen devices and the physical keyboard devices, at some point, like with touchscreens, you can ship it in every language, and it's a software change for the language. And here they have their, QWERTY, their AZERTY, their whatever else keyboard. So like later down in the line, it's like, okay, keyboard time, and it's just like all these keyboards, and then they're like, for the batches that are happening, they're putting the right one in. But yeah, top notch facility there, lots of people, and it's a machine pumping out our baby Blackberries.
I just want to go back to the space bar and say that I don't understand why people would complain about the clickiness of the space bar. Like, I enjoy the clickiness of the space bar. I don't get why people complain about
it. The only people who are allowed to complain about that is your wife or spouse in bed when it's like 6 a.m. and they're sleeping, and you're like click 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 click.
Yeah, like all of, I don't know. I even said it in my review. It's a satisfactory click. Like I like knowing that I made that click go.
Well,
I don't get it.
It's got a secondary function. It's a power button too. It's gonna be a little bit clicky.
Yeah, I don't like people like when you think about a keyboard for your computer, people seek out keyboards that click louder.
Mine makes even the dogs cry.
But Jerry, you don't actually have to click it for power. You can just rest your finger.
Right, but you can.
Yes.
It has that function, so you have to build that in. The person I talked to, they didn't like that it was a little loose. Well,
yeah, that's like mine. That's what I don't like so much.
Mine's. It has to be slightly loose because your thumb is round. It has to be able to move so it can read all parts of your thumb, no matter how you put it on there. But mine doesn't have any extra wiggle at all. It's in there great.
Yeah, my key, all of them, I have 2 or 3 key ones. And they all have a wobblier than spacebar than what my
there's definitely I'm picking up
KEY2 does.
This one is like brand new. I have not. I've been installing the wallpaper and setting it up. Like I haven't used this one yet. And there's definitely more. There's some movement to the space bar, like up vertically, even like up down wiggle. But I don't think it's not loose, right? I don't know. I mean, I get it.
I'm glad that you and Adam, you see a little bit of motion there because that is something that somebody should look at. Because I was worried a lot of people don't understand that it does need to be a little bit loose so you can roll your thumb on it and it can pick it up. But if it's too loose, that's not good. And I'm glad you two are seeing something that you think is.
If I just compare it to other buttons on the keyboard, right, and I kind of push them up and down vertically, there's very little movement to them. And there's definitely like a little bit of movement to the space bar. But I don't think I'd use the word loose.
Well, it's like mine. Like if I tap on the keys like this, like they don't move with the space bar.
Yeah, but maybe
if I just tap.
But maybe the key one is a little bit. Is it a different length of bar?
Not bad though.
Yeah, I think it's a bit bigger on the KEY2, and that's what I was saying. My KEY1 keyboard is the spacebar on there is wobblier than what it is on the KEY2.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have 2 like busted key ones here, but one has a pretty tight spacebar, and the other one is a slight bit more movement up down to it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a problematic thing. I wouldn't even have.
My KEY1 keyboard spacebar wobbles, but it's not like I would say the KEY2 one is loose. It's hard. It's super hard to explain.
Another thing too that everybody that's listening has to remember: very few people have this phone, and the type of person who has this phone is the type of person who's going to be at CrackBerry in the forums, and they want perfection, and it's great to want perfection. So don't let this discourage you. Don't think you're going to get a phone that double types every letter and the space bar is going to fall off. You're not.
No. It's solid. I'm trying to compare now to the
It's not like the screen
finish of the Passport and see if I can.
Next.
It's weird. I find the Passport 3-row keyboard just so strange, you know?
It is strange, but it was super comfortable.
It's comfy. It's definitely comfortable. Just
dude, it's like riding on waves. You can just surf across that keyboard.
Okay, anything else on the KEY2 we want to talk about?
No, I just want to make sure that people know where it is available. We do have a where to buy post on CrackBerry that you can refer to, but Bell, Rogers, Saskill, and TELUS all have it available in Canada. Walmart is taking pre-orders for the Silver Edition in Canada, so is Blue Shop. It'll also be available at Best Buy and Visions as well. But Walmart and Blue Shop have their pre-orders up right now.
So you mean people aren't? I'm just like, I haven't been reading the following the news. I've just been using the thing the past month. I feel like everybody should own one right now.
Right. Not everybody has the capability to own one.
Well, now I feel like bad, and we're like teasing because it's really good phone. Like I don't want to go.
We realistically are a lot of only. I mean, the majority of the UK has it available.
I was at Selfridges right when it went on sale. I was like, first retail
Did you
purchase
buy?
at.
Oh, right. That's great.
I was first one there. I went, waited in line early, got it. I bought 2 of them, and we bought a few more, which we gave away at the awesome London launch party, which was last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, which was so much fun. That's like, we should talk about that. Also, what made me happy is I met a lot of people at the launch event party in the UK who love the podcast, and they're like, don't change a thing. And I'm like, are you serious? Because we're kind of like not good at it.
I would like to meet.
And they're like, no, I love it. He's like, you guys are so funny, and like, I just love how you ramble. And then he's like, I put you on when I'm on the treadmill and I listen. I'm like, you're nuts. Like, I feel like. So they're like, don't change anything. So now we can feel better about our scatterbrained randomness.
I feel like we're more of a binge eating podcast than an excercising podcast.
Really?
Yeah, drinking, excessive drinking podcast.
Drinking or binge eating.
Before we step away from the KEY2,
yes,
the display. I'm pretty sure it's the same display as the KEY1, and it looks fine.
Well, so that's where you get it. It's the same display. It is the same display. I think that's one of the points of like, what do you want to see in a KEY3?
And
I feel like the roadmap to KEY3 is really clear now. It's like OLED.
I noticed out in the sun, I can't see the display at full brightness. But I was with Russell, and we were in an old historic town in Virginia making a video. Russell could see it just fine. So if you've got a KEY1 or a KEY2, do me a favor, step outside where it's really bright, and then jump in the forum and let Blaze know if you can see your screen. Because I don't understand that, and things that I don't understand just bug the heck out of me.
See, I attributed some of that to how Oreo is, how that display is actually set up on Oreo in terms of like how the operating system handles it. Because on KEY1, there's not a lot of options to actually adjust the display. But on KEY2, you can go in and you can adjust like the saturation of the display. You can adjust whether you want to boost it. I don't know what actually boosted means in terms of EOS, but
it's so weird. Phone Arena, when they review a phone, it's crazy. They get out machinery and they tear phones apart. They do. If you're interested in individual components, make sure you read Phone Arena's review of anything. I talked to the guy there. The KEY1 has the brightest screen they've ever measured with the little thing that you lay on top of the screen. So it's the brightest screen they've ever measured, but I can't see it outside. That makes me just lose my mind.
I thought there's like, but is that like the nits, or are you talking about a different?
I'm not sure what they put that little colorimeter on it, and it can measure all kind of stuff.
Well, now I'm really curious because I thought like the brightest displays right now, they're like over 1,000 nits or whatever, and I thought KEY1's display and KEY2 is more like 100.
Yeah, I don't think they're talking nits, actual brightness. I think they're talking like saturation or magnitude. I'm going to find out, because that's why I want to find out from people how the display is working for them out in the sun. Because I was literally shocked when Russell said, well, it looks fine to me. Looks just like your Pixel. And I'm like, no, dude, you're crazy. He's like, no, it's fine.
We're going to have the like, what color is this dress thing? Is it blue? Is it gold? Can you see it or not? It's like,
It could be our eyes. I'm not
I mean,
anymore.
That's
I
one
think
of those
it's fine.
things.
I can see it, but it's definitely not as bright as some phones they've used outside. But it's never been like, again, when I come back to buy the phone or not, right? Like, it's good. There's nothing that's like, don't. I mean, I've been nitpicking Blackberries for a decade now, and I'll always, no matter what, have my next hit list of things.
I'm talking standing in the middle of an old Civil War battlefield at noon, not a cloud in the sky, and we're holding it directly towards the sun so we could take a look at it. It's not anything that bothers you in everyday use.
See, it's scenarios like that I like. Yeah, reviews are great to read. Everybody's opinion matters when you're looking at from a buyer's perspective and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, nothing beats getting the device actually in your hands and seeing it for yourself. Because
I thought you were going to say nothing beats what Jerry and Blaze have to say.
I mean, that's true too. But people don't believe me anymore, and they believe Jerry still. So
people believe Blaze. That's bullshit.
I mean, I know when I write a review, I just try to give you a set of expectations. You know what to expect.
I'm
Then
giving you
when
a guideline.
you know if this is something that you're interested in getting and trying. I'm not going to try to tell you this phone is perfect for you.
Right.
But
Hey, Jerry, do you know a lot about batteries?
A little bit. I know, the electric side. I don't.
I
know.
have an old Key 1 battery here, and as a thing, I keep bending it. I'm like, wait, will it blow up?
Yes,
Don't
do that.
Okay, so don't bend the battery in half.
You don't need to be a battery expert to know that.
Well, it's like a little stress ball. I'm like, do. Like, oh wait, this might be a bad thing to do.
You got a scar on your hand to match the one on your arm. It'll be perfect.
Take it outside the driveway and put your camera on a tripod and take a nail and drive a nail through it while the camera's on.
With your hand, with your palm.
And then run.
Let's not give ideas like that. That sounds dangerous. And I don't know if we have insurance for things.
Sounds like something.
But no, a battery's designed to take a certain level of abuse. And because that's a sealed battery that you're not supposed to change yourself, it's not designed to take the amount of abuse you're giving it right there. Okay. And yes, it could break the seal inside that separates the electrolyte from other parts. And if there's any juice left, it can cause a little bit of a fire.
Well, so now I should take it out of this office so it doesn't
Okay. I would recycle it if I were you. I would properly recycle that.
Okay. I will do just that. I'm going to leave it here.
We're going to be on podcast 6 months from now, and Kevin's going to be like, "Oh, look, I found that battery I was playing with."
Either that, or it's going to be like, "Hey guys, sorry, I got this cast on my arm. I was playing with a battery."
Yeah. Well, no, it's from my condo today because I can't get back in my office because it burned down.
It's interesting though, because we think of phone batteries way back in the day when you could take the back off and you change the battery, and they've evolved from little bitty things that look like a 9-volt to big flat things. Now they're a pouch. They're a tinfoil pouch, but you don't have to take them out anymore, so they don't have to be built tough.
I like it when you get the swap. It was more fun.
Yeah, swappable batteries were pretty dope.
BlackBerry quick chargers, so much fun.
Speaking of batteries, the BlackBerry Ghost that's rumored for India will have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, but
that's pretty solid size.
Yeah.
If the life is there, that's cool. I like that, general bigger battery. Nobody complains.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the BlackBerry Ghost rumors have been floating around for a while, and we still haven't seen anything further from it. So
yeah, that was Mobile World Congress, right? So that's right? End of February, March, April, May, June, into July. So we're 5 months out from that leak.
Yeah,
4.5.
And it still doesn't give any indication if it's actually going to be available outside of India. So
I hope I get one. I did get contacted by what's it called, Optimus, that they were going to ship me something at some point, but that was a while back too that they said that.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll get a review unit. That'd be cool.
And we're still waiting on Oreo for T1 and the Motion. Rogers basically came up.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of angry tweets about Oreo and the Key 1. How many forum threads are there? Lots of them.
Oh, there's lots of them, but basically, here's the thing though, is that if Rogers hadn't said that they were, releasing it, they moved their date twice, and now they just said that it was delayed. But that's only from Rogers, and I don't think a lot of people take that into account. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a BlackBerry mobile thing. That's Rogers specific rollout. But it does, point to the fact that, hey, somewhere along the line, this was planned and it's not planned no longer. So,
no, I think when it comes to both the monthly security updates and then things like when you promise when the phone first gets announced that it's going to get an update at some point, in general, putting my consumer hat on, I want those things to happen without fail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I understand some things happen that aren't planned, but when you kind of make those promises, you need to stick to them. So
the security update thing, there was a mess a while back. A security research company found that some phones have a date that says they have a current security patch, but after testing, those patches that should have been applied weren't. And that caused a big mess because they claim that the manufacturers are just changing the date and not doing anything else and lying to you. And of course, the manufacturer said, no, we work hard. And so I dug into it a little bit. I'll use Samsung and BlackBerry as an example because both of them add their own security layer on top of what Google does. If Google patches something that your BlackBerry phone doesn't need patched because it can't be done, there's no reason for BlackBerry to bother to build that patch. That's if you don't get a security update for your phone, there is a good chance you didn't need it. And that makes things difficult. I would like to see BlackBerry make their own page. Google has a page that details everything in an update. I would like to see BlackBerry do something similar and say, hey, we didn't need to do this because of the way we hardened the system. That could have never happened anyway. That would be great. That would ease a lot of people's fears, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They have the monthly security update page, but they don't actually. They just take that directly from a portion of Google. Right?
Yeah,
Jerry, be careful. There's something behind you.
Yeah,
it sounds vicious.
That's Henry, the loud girl. She loves Hangouts because she loves to yell at people.
Too cute.
It's funny you mentioned BlackBerry and Samsung as well too, Jerry, because during the last conference call that they had in their earnings report, BlackBerry and Samsung are basically continuing their relationship because BlackBerry works with Samsung on a bunch of different technologies in terms of security and everything. So they basically just came out and said, "Hey, we're extending this relationship. We're going to continue to work together to bring new security features and new technology to people." So,
and we need. I mean, that's. I'm a BlackBerry fan. I kind of fell out. I didn't like BlackBerry 10.
Jerry for editor-in-chief of CrackBerry.
But not even if you don't like their phones, BlackBerry is a very important company for the technology that's coming next. The Internet of Things, it's 100 more BlackBerries because if not, we're all just going to get our identity stolen and we're going to be living in tin shacks.
The world of 5G, everything's going to be too fast.
Yeah.
And
too
connected.
Yeah, it's so easy for things to go wrong. You need companies like BlackBerry that are focused solely on keeping those things from happening.
Makes sense. Before the artificial intelligence gets us.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got, let's see, precisely 12 minutes that I can still podcast for, and then I need to peace out.
Maybe we should plan on doing like 7 because we know you're going to take longer than you need to.
Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing
brilliant and good looking. You look very thin today.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. That's so nice of you to say.
Is your intermittent fasting diet working?
It's doing really well, yeah. It's still going strong.
It's
nice to not want to eat all the time.
I would
advise.
I had a very enjoyable time in New York, spending actual time with Adam, not just living in my computer. It was good fun. Kevin was there too.
Adam. Yeah, no,
Kevin was fun anymore. Couldn't pay the bills, but other than that, it was fun.
I was going to recommend not going to Italy, Adam, because it's too hard to stay on diet there.
Yeah, I don't think I would go. The hardest time I find is like when I go on vacation with my family. Like last fall, we went to Disney in November, so it's kind of tough because everybody's like up eating breakfast before we go out the door, and I'm just trying to resist because then nobody's gonna want to eat till like 2 p.m. So
I didn't even attempt to eat healthy the last month. I was like between my broken hand and regrowing bones and stuff. And
we have this store called Pliables. It's a restaurant which actually was started in the Jersey Shore, which you would probably like because it's like all this healthy stuff, but you get like a base, so you pick like granola or like chia pudding or like this kale blend, and then you build like fruit and coconut and sweeteners on top of it, and it's like super good. But it's all this like healthy stuff. With Jerry would not like it. But
at the end, you can put pork rinds in it, right?
Right. Just put meat on top of it.
Me and Jerry are both on the same wavelength. How can I fatten this up? How can I make it really good?
I'm gonna have a full rack of ribs and throw some pork rinds on top.
It's like the Flintstones where you get like a smoothie and then they bring out the giant rack and
just
throw it right on top.
Yeah, so good.
Yes, please.
Well, I'm off to Florida tomorrow to undo the damage of the last month and shoot some CBK videos next week. I'm excited for that. Taking Prime Day, it's going to be a busy one.
So it's going to be hot down there.
It's been hot in freaking Winnipeg.
Yeah, we're having an incredible heat wave here on the East Coast. You're You better like take ice cubes.
Yeah, sunscreen up. Need the sunscreen up for sure.
Oh, definitely.
I go back home to Nova Scotia on the 17th, and I've been looking at the weather, and the weather is like, it's only like 20 or 30 degrees less at home. So I'm going to like die because the humidity is like 100,000 times worse there.
That's what it's been here. Ours has been like 85, 90, but like our humidity, you know, it's like 70, 80, 90% every day. So it's
right. Humidity kills me.
I live at about 5,200 feet at the top of the Blue Ridge Mountains and in the middle of the forest, the big forest in the Appalachians. And it was 100 degrees here yesterday.
Whoa.
That doesn't happen. That just never happens. That's bad.
Yeah, what's going on? I mean, even here, like heat wave, and we don't have mosquitoes anymore. Like I feel like we're a tropical paradise to be at.
The new vacation getaway to
Winnipeg. It's 93 degrees here right now, and it's not even 12 o'clock yet.
Oh my God!
It will go to. It will probably hit 110 by like 1 o'clock.
Nuts. Oh, new CrackBerry app update is out, which has all of our KEY2 tutorials and guides and things in it. So.
Yeah, it has all the help and how-to guides, and it has the BlackBerry mobile device walkthrough. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure that you check that out.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a good video.
Yeah, every phone manufacturer needs to look at that.
That was a solid video. It made me want to buy the phone, but then I already had one, so I was like, but if I didn't, I would have wanted it.
And I liked the fact that they created a cohesive line in the actual marketing too, because they use the same people for like the help and how-to videos in the device walkthrough and the commercial, which was really it's good. It came together really nice.
I really enjoyed seeing that. That was, you don't see that from companies that they're trying to sell you something very often.
Yeah, they usually just push the product out and there you go. It's done.
I think Jerry and Blaze should do all the videos for them from now on.
Oh, yeah, we could set that up.
But then you also have to be in the commercials, which would be even better.
I know Blaze is thinking what I'm thinking, and yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, boy.
We probably won't be as cohesive as those videos,
but the videos will be better, so it doesn't matter.
They'll definitely be
fun. Like, and take 3,000, 4,200. Oh, my God. Okay, I need to share a story. So,
oh, boy.
These are the things you learn that you just don't know. Like that when you travel and that you start to learn like little things that just you miss in everyday life. So, everybody knows when we go to CrackBerry meetups, like we'll do photos and things like that, right? So last year for the KEY1, I'll hold up my destroyed one. I would always be like, that's what I do, right? Like point at the phone, one finger. It's like, this is it. So then for the KEY2, I'm like, well, instead of one finger, I'll hold two because it's the KEY2. So I'm at the London meetup and I've got like, a bunch of photos I've taken with guests and fans. And I'm like this. Geez. And for anybody listening and not looking, I'm holding my, I don't know what direction you call this. Yeah, peace sign, but I'm holding my hand like flat out, like it's not twisted around. So you can see my fingernails basically. So I'm like, KEY2, smile, cheese. Well, it turns out that is a horribly offensive thing in London, in the UK. You have to turn your hand the other way. This means two. This basically means F you.
What?
And there's something, but I mean, it was like offensive. They're like, Kevin, like you can't do that. Like they weren't trying to like just make, like pulling over me. It's like a thing. So then I've been learning to go like KEY2 in photos and that, and it's weird for me, but there's some story behind it. I think it was something to do with like somebody cut down something, and it was a old history.
There was probably Queens involved. Because there's always a Queen.
There was, I think, the French, there was Queens, there was something English, and almost like the World Cup fighting going on, except that England lost out yesterday.
Kevin's out here unknowingly flashing gang signs at people.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? And I was pretty happy at the London event. Moneypenny, Naomi Harris, but Moneypenny in the new James Bond, she was there.
Ooh.
So like one step closer to getting a BlackBerry back in James Bond's hands.
That was a sweet venue too. I'm
Venue
sad
was
that I missed out on
amazing.
that
That was
one.
probably I don't know if they can do a better BlackBerry event than the London one. That was like the perfect party. I don't know. It was just the right amount of like everything. A lot of entertainment, good fans, like people, like just venue was cool. Beautiful night. It was awesome.
I could see the KEY2 in black. I could see James Bond pulling that out of his coat pocket.
Yeah. Privacy shade. I mean,
could see that. Yes.
Redactor.
Redactor.
Whoever's in charge of all that now, if you're listening,
Get it done.
you know,
Make it happen.
Kevin will give you a black KEY2 if you want to make movies with it.
I'll give
a
you
whole box of them.
No.
Should we go
I'm
now?
trying to think if there's any other fun things. Oh, still, if same thing happened at the London event. This is coming back to Adam. You look so skinny on camera and amazing. So same thing. So I'm like, this is after binging, and I'm feeling not very, very, very heavy at the London event, right? And a few people come up to me and they're like, Kevin, we watch you, listen to you for years, seen all your videos, podcasts, awesome fans, etc. And they're like, just gotta say, you're way taller and skinnier than we thought you were. It's really strange. So I think next time we record, I'm gonna put one of those like police blind, like stores have by the exit, the height meter on the wall. I'm gonna mount one of those. And so it's really weird because I'm like, whether I lose weight and feel skinny or I gain weight and feel big, people always see me and think I'm not as big as they thought. But then in this case, they're like, hey, yeah, I was at the London event and I saw you. And that was like after I did my fasting and I was like super skinny by Kevin's standards. And then I'm at the London event again now and I'm like kind of heavy by Kevin's standards. And they're like, you look better now than you did. So even when I'm in shape, when people walk away, they remember me much bigger than I am, and shorter and bigger. So I'm like, I just give up. I'm just going to eat what I want.
Yeah.
Spend my money on phone rings.
Life is for living.
Life is for living. If there's one lesson for today, spend where it matters. Oh my God. What is this, Adam?
This is when we were fat. This is our good friend Nan took this. This is BlackBerry World probably in like 2007 or 2008 or something.
That was the first trip that I took.
I don't even know what I would have been.
Our faces are fat, except for Chris because he doesn't fluctuate.
No, my face is actually kind of fat there. Like by my standard, it's kind of fat.
I love this podcast. It's like we talk about phones and then we talk about we body shame ourselves at the end. Wow.
Anyhow.
All right, that's a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in.
I feel like it wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't talk about how. Can I talk about my weightlifting program I'm on right now?
No, you might as well.
Started a new one today. It's awesome because I have. Wait, let me check how many minutes I have. Very strict deadline for me. 1 second. Sorry. Thank you for your patience.
Should we mention our sponsor, thrifter.com? One more time.
Yeah, go there. Prime Day, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, kicking off. Goes till Tuesday midnight.
Because you should really just spend where it matters is what it comes down to. So.
No, but the thing with Prime Day is it's not just like a sale. They do lightning deals every hour.
Yeah.
So they make you like tune into the coverage the entire time. It's nerve-wracking. And
Well,
then
but if-
sometimes
Pay attention to Amazon. You can just pay attention to Thrifter, and then you'll get all the best.
Exactly.
Well,
That's what
they've had all the
I was gonna
crap.
say. I don't have to even fool with sifting through Amazon this year. I'll just
Or if you want to be even lazier, you can just download any one of our site's apps, and you'll get notifications through like the Android Central app, or the iMore app, or the Windows Central app.
I signed up for the newsletters.
So, yeah,
newsletter.
you
Oh
get
yeah,
email
Thrifters
newsletter.
now covering deals in Canada and the UK. New deals hunters on the team.
You can sign up
Which
for
makes
the newsletter.
Thrifter.com/CA or
All right,
/UK.
tell us about your weight program, Kevin, because the moment.
Oh, well, so yeah, so obviously I know how to lose weight when I want to, because then I just fast and quit eating, and starvation works super well. But it's summertime and I've been eating, and I like weightlifting. So I'm on it's called I'm on a 6-week GVT program, which stands for German Volume Training.
Achtung.
Yeah, and it's hard as hell, because what you do is for your main body part you're working that day, you do 10 sets of 10 reps. So you pick a weight where you can actually do that. So like on Monday was incline bench press supersetted with pull downs. but you have to do 10 in a row sets. So you go from like 10 incline bench to like 10 pull downs, and then you do that and like 10 reps each. Normally, like say old school like weightlifting, it's like, do 4 sets of like 8 to 12 reps, that kind of thing, and then you move on to another body part or another exercise. But to do that high volume is nuts. So like leg day, you're doing 10 sets of squats, and you're supersetting between each set of squats with like hamstring curls, and then you just don't walk straight for 5 days is what happens. But it guarantees to work. So I'm sort of like a 6-week program for that, and then that'll take me to the end of summer, and then I'm gonna strip down and like look good for Halloween. So what I'm getting at is we should go to a Halloween party. Like let's go to Vegas or something. And
I find it amusing because most people are like, I'm going to slim down for like my birthday or for Christmas or for
Halloween has always been my date. Yeah. I want to look good for my Halloween costume where I can dress up as David Hasselhoff.
And just so he can eat Halloween candy without feeling guilty. Yeah, I'm saying I got lots of room to grow.
He was here one year for Halloween, and I had my bowl of leftover
candy
on the table. And the end of the day, we worked like across my dining room table. And the end of the day, there's just like wrappers from one end to the other because he doesn't even think. He's like on calls. He's just like, it was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Yeah, hence that photo you showed earlier.
My weakness now, I found out my neighbor across the street works for M&M Mars because their headquarters is like up the street, and he just every now and then will leave like giant bags of M&Ms in our mailbox for the kids.
Oh my god!
Big like grab and go bags of peanut M&Ms, and they're like super fresh because normally those don't go on the shelves for like 6 months. But he just like leaves them, so we just have a supply of M&Ms.
I gotta hop on this podcast. I'm moving to Jersey.
Yeah, you better buy him something special for Christmas, man. Take good care of him.
Yeah, it's pretty handy.
That's crazy.
If you want to get fat off M&Ms.
The only problem, he's not doing any favors giving you guys that stuff.
They're like super fresh. The ones he gave us last time were fun size, but they're like Halloween ones. So they're like for this Halloween, like that's how far ahead they make them.
Oh.
It's pretty crazy. But they're like super good. So
I'm so hungry. I didn't actually eat yet today. I meant to.
Do you ever get like the new peanut butter M&Ms? Those new
love
them. Wrapper.
We had the coffee nut ones, and then just the regular peanut ones.
Have you had the new Reese peanut butter cups that have like M&Ms in them?
Yeah. Don't they have Reese's Pieces in them?
Yeah, that's what they have. But it's like almost different. Those are good too.
They are good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta go eat some food now. And
thanks for listening and watching.
Yeah, thanks everybody. KEY2, buy it. Phone ring, buy it. Save so you can afford to buy it. Save some money on everything else on Thrifter this coming week. And
Amazon Prime Day. Tomorrow isn't tomorrow D-Day on the 13th?
No, it starts Monday.
No, sorry, I meant the KEY2 on Amazon isn't getting.
Oh, is it tomorrow?
Yeah, because you can pre-order it, but I think it gets released on the 13th.
Sweet.
Well, it's anywhere from 13th to 17th, but anybody who pre-ordered should already have their order scheduled with Amazon. So
I better have mine scheduled.
Well, let's try to do another podcast in 2 weeks. So maybe I'm going to be out of town this coming week. So the week after, let's aim for later that week, and then Jerry will tell us if the phone ring cured his double typing issue and if he's a believer or not. Because if you're a believer, I feel like we should start our own phone ring company.
Right. If you converted me, because you know how much I just thought they were crazy. But if you've converted me enough to try it.
Well, I think you should buy a few too. I like the Speak and Style ring, the original version. They have a new one called the Popped, which I don't have yet, but I don't think I like it as much.
Oh, dear.
There's one called Ring Key, RINGKE, that some people swear by. Adam likes pop sockets, which you could try also. I think there's some disadvantages to it in comparison, but you get a lot of the same benefits too, and it makes a cool popping sound, which is addictive. But
oh dear, I'm gonna have a lot of fun.
You should buy a few.
Yeah,
and take it seriously, and then if you believe in it, it's
with the pop sockets you can customize them, Jerry. You can make one of your own. I made one for you the one time with your.
I remember that. I saw that.
Okay, Jerry, thanks so much for joining us today. I think everybody got a little bit smarter, or a lot smarter, from your wisdom.
You got to see my bird. That's more important.
Whoa, easy.
No, it's a real bird. If you're listening,
Slow down, buddy.
We're trying to keep this PG.
And I'm telling you, everybody else who's still sticking around, optimize that home screen on the angle. This is it. I'm telling you, one-handed efficiency looks good. It's cool, stylish, attention to detail. We're going to make that trend. I want them shipping phones like that. None of this like one row of icons at the bottom. It's like angle. And I'm going to program more shortcuts. I feel like I have not become a speed key shortcut addict enough.
Yeah, you really need to get on the speed key.
Just get
fantastic.
Because I use it a little, but it's not like I'm not living the speed key life yet enough. They should have called it the crack key, and I would have been totally addicted by now.
It's my favorite feature on the phone. I think it makes it, even if there were no other improvements, it's enough to buy the KEY2.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, KEY2 is like KEY1 got me using a BlackBerry again. KEY2 definitely has me loving a BlackBerry again, which is pretty good. We didn't talk too much about what we want to see in the KEY3 yet this episode, so let's do that next show. Let's ponder it between now and then. And
I've already written it. I want to slide.
Save it.
I want to torch.
I want to torch too.
Torch 2.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy your summer. We'll be back soon. We're all going to look very svelte because we're all going to be super healthy in the next 2 weeks.
Except for
make promises you can't keep.
I'm going to go get a spray tan and a teeth whitening so I look younger again.
I get to miss every leg day, so.
Silver lining? At least we all have great attitudes.
And I get to carry a backpack on the back of this thing. I could carry all kind of stuff. I'm a
Love it. Life is for living. All right, everybody. Peace. /2.
Take care.
Don't do it this way. Do it this way. Do it this way. Okay. CrackBerry team out.
Bye.
Oh, wait. On that note,
Oh, for Christ's sake.
you should really go on Netflix and watch Unsolved, which is about the Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, and Tupac murder investigation. Really good. I've been watching it.
Oh, cool. I'll check that
It's
out.
good. It's actually really good. And the actor who plays Tupac looks like him.
Maybe it is.
It's really weird.
Yeah, they say
it's well
Tupac's
done.
still alive. Maybe it's
It
him.
might be him. He defies aging and he's still there. I don't think so.
That would be the best way to hide.
Plain sight. You're right.
Oh, Christ.
Boom. Okay. Peace.
Peace.
/2.